everyone. Welcome back to our third episode of Bravo Bedside Banter. I'm Meredith, and I'm joined here with my co-host Rachel.
Hi, everyone.
And we have a lot to get into today, so let's just dive in. What has happened last week? The end of Summer House and the reunion.
Yeah, so we saw the final episode of Summer House since we last recorded, and then also the reunion, right?
Yeah, reunion part 1. And then the end of the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot to go in there. What else is happening? I feel like there's been so much.
There's been a lot happening in the Bravo sphere because I feel like these two shows have really captured a lot of audiences this year. And I know specifically Summer House, that's a show that I've been watching since it came out. But there's a lot of people, my friends, who haven't watched it until this season. So I think it's been getting a lot more press because of the Carl Lindsey breakup, and more people are watching it. So there's more discussion happening than ever before with Summer House. And honestly, Summer House can be kind of boring some seasons because you're just watching them party, but it's fun. I still think that those seasons are fun.
I think that was like the allure of Jersey Shore too, right? Like people just wanted to see them party sometimes. I am also one of those people that just jumped on this season because of the drama. But also this week, did you see that they released Traitors season 3 cast?
I did. Okay, and I've never watched Traitors, but now I have to watch it.
Yeah. Where did Britney Spears' ex-husband come from?
Oh my god, the Sam guy?
Yeah. Asghari or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he gets murdered right away.
Yes.
And Tom too. I kind of want them to really string him along for a little bit and then kill him.
Can you tell me because I really don't know the premise of the show Traitors. I know Bravo people are on it and other reality people, but I don't really know what the premise of the show is.
So basically, people have compared it, which I've never heard of this game, to a game called Werewolf, where it's like people are secretly, and I may be messing that up too, people are designated as traitors at the beginning, and then they have to kill off people without people knowing that they are the traitors. And then they also have opportunities to kill each other and vote people off. So they have many different chances throughout to where they could get found out. And so they have to really try to hide themselves and finesse. And that's why I think Bravo people are so good on traitors. And like Sam, my husband, he isn't really a reality TV guy, but he will sit down and watch it too because he likes Survivor, and they have some people from other kind of challenge. So I think that that's why it works out. You have the reality TV folks, and then you have people from other kind of competition game show, other reality competition shows. So
it sounds like a card game I played when I was a kid called Mafia, where it's like two people would be Mafia and everyone else would have different roles, and you would have to guess who is the Mafia people, and everyone would try to trick people into I'm not Mafia or I am Mafia. And it was a whole fun role-playing suspense game.
And it's filmed in Scotland, so that's really cool. It's filmed in a castle. You're definitely gonna have to jump on, especially with this cast.
It's heavy Bravo cast.
Yeah, I think it really was pretty heavy last season too. They try to have a good balance of, I would say, probably close to 50-50. And then there's one random, last season they had a random British parliament person. I don't know.
Strange.
Yeah, really weird. And then there's another version where they just have all regular people, common folk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely watching that. Especially now that my favorite Bravo shows are slowing down, like Summer House and The Valley and Vanderpump are all slowing down. And I love The Housewives, but I love the other shows more.
I am ready for more Housewives to be on the TV. Let's also talk about the OC trailer.
Oh. When Teddy says, "Welcome Housewives and Vicky."
And Vicky. Do not disrespect the
Vicky
OG.
is Queen Bee. And
Yes.
you can hate her, fine. Like, she's not, and I would never be like, Vicky's a really nice person, but she's wonderful TV. She
Mhm.
brings it every single season. And not only is she bringing arguments, she also always has like a comedic factor to her, like, because she's kind of a goof. Like, so there's always moments where you're laughing alongside her, too.
But it's unintentional. Like she's not
Right.
trying so hard. That's what I love about her. So
Yeah.
I am a Vicky stan. I love her chaos and I am really looking forward to this season. Last season was kind of it was like an in-between season. There was really nothing that noteworthy.
Name
Um
'em. Name 'em.
yeah.
Name 'em. That was last season, wasn't it?
Well, that was Beverly
Oh,
Hills.
you're right. That was Beverly Hills. That was Sutton.
And speaking of Sutton though, she makes a cameo here in the
Yes.
OC
Okay. That's why I
trailer.
was getting confused. I was like, she's in the OC trailer. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be good. It seems like some things are happening with Gina. I mean, I have watched OC probably every season since it's come out. So I'm exceptionally excited for this one just to hear kind of what else is happening. They have a newbie and all this stuff is unfolding with Shannon. Can't wait to see that.
Oh, because we're gonna see Alexis date Shannon's ex and get engaged. It
Yes,
seems
and
like
this
in the
is
trailer.
happening like yeah, really quickly. So I cannot wait for that to come out.
Poor Shannon. I actually feel bad for her.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. In
I feel
previous
bad for
seasons,
Shannon because I feel like with her first husband, when they bought the house and he had all the affairs,
yeah,
and she was so insecure because she had gained weight during their marriage and he had been really negative about her body and the way she looked. And then he was having all these affairs with younger, fitter
yeah,
women. And I feel like that fucked Shannon up so bad in the head of she got so insecure. When you watch like first, second season Shannon, she's not insecure. She's like, I love crystals and woo woo shit and this is my life. And then she just slowly becomes more and more and more insecure. And to see like her breaking up from John and then Alexis dating John and getting engaged when you know that's what Shannon wanted, I just feel like she's gonna break. Like
yeah.
really bad.
So
Her insecurities are
I,
gonna
I
skyrocket.
mean, well, we see it happen with her
Yeah,
DUI. So we'll see
yeah.
more of that unfolding. But I love that you said that because that does transition me into my kind of thought aha moment that I had at the end of the valley.
Okay.
So it's so interesting how impactful these relationships can be on your mental, your well-being, and it really you can see like it either will make or break you.
Yeah.
And to see Brittany and Michelle reach this point, and I don't know if in real time if that happened around the same time or if they just kind of caught up with them as the as like Brittany, announced it got out that she was moving out, but you could just see all of a sudden this kind of level of independence. And I was kind of thinking about it and wondering kind of how money definitely played a role, I think, in their ability to leave, right? So we talked last week about power dynamics and how that can impact your relationship. And so what I'm looking at when I see, and this is very broadly, but when I see Jax and Jesse, the money awarded them the ability to continue to justify their actions and what they were already doing. Whereas this money or new opportunity gave Brittany and Michelle
A way
freedom
to
to leave.
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how that plays in the power dynamic, how these men are all of a sudden caught off guard.
Because they think that these women will never leave them. They're like, they will never leave me. Both of them said that.
And they justified it by, I have this status, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesse is very open about, I'm bougie. I like only the finest wines, which like go off. Like, that's great. But also,
Well, and Jax told Brittany as she announced and shared that you don't have any friends. All of your friends are because of me and because of our TV show. Like everything you have is because of me, basically, and tried to manipulate and scare tactic her into staying multiple times.
and how that's problematic in of itself to use that in an argument as a tactic to try to get someone to stay. Like,
So I'm going to parallel this really quick. I know you're not on TikTok, Mare, but
I know.
there's a big trend on TikTok happening right now. And we're actually seeing it, I think, in Instagram, but also just around in general of like these trad wives and these stay at home girlfriends, these women who are like, I'm a trad wife, a traditional housewife. I have babies, I make food, and I like take care of the home. And you're seeing the same thing with these stay at home girlfriends where they just like showcase their life. And they're like, today I woke up and made matcha and made my bed and did laundry and went to Pilates and then had an Erewhon smoothie, then went back to Pilates. And all of these women are doing this. And it's really glorifying women being reliant on men. But what we don't see in all of that is that those women cannot leave those relationships. Like they are stuck. Do you want another? How are you going to go from not having a job, being a traditional housewife or stay at home girlfriend to back into the real world? You are financial dependence on a man is not as glamorous as it seems. It is actually a fucking trap.
I would argue to say financial dependence on anyone.
Yeah,
Being
absolutely.
financially dependent under the power of a parental figure,
Yeah.
under the power of anybody who wants to have that power over you can have such detrimental impacts on so many other areas of your life.
Yeah. And I think that it was really awesome seeing two women step out of having the financial freedom that Bravo afforded them.
Yeah.
Which what's more feminist than that is having the financial freedom from Bravo from being messy and loud and taking up space to leave these men. And I think like in that too, I saw a lot of power in the way Michelle handled it. Jesse kept saying, "You're so cold. You're so cold. How could you be so cold?" And
Mm,
when I was watching her, nothing about her was cold. I was like, she's just being direct and
yeah.
honest. She didn't say anything cruel. She didn't demean him. She didn't say anything degrading to their relationship. She was just like, this is the fact. I am leaving. Like, this is what's happening and this is what I am and am not doing. And I think when men are so used to women placating them, and I think for a long time she placated him, kind of like Brittany too with Jax. She's like placated him and like made excuses for him, etc. And then when they start to say like no more, even if it's not in a cruel way, the men are like, "Oh my god, you're being so mean to me." It's like they're not being mean. You're just used to them bending over backwards for you and they're saying no more. I'm not bending over backwards.
And just stating boundaries.
Right.
Like that is the bare minimum. And you can see it throughout the season though, a little bit of that. Like, and I tell my clients that I talk to as well, once you try it, once you flex that muscle of practicing boundaries, even something really small, like, hey, I'm not going to do that today, or I
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable with that. It could be something that's very low barrier,
Mhm.
but to flex that muscle just once builds confidence. So over time, you can say, not only am I setting this boundary, but I am also not going to take any flexibility within that. And I'm going to leave
Yeah,
if
and I'm
that's
leaving.
necessary and appropriate. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the men can't handle it though. We just watch both of them just break down.
Well, because everything that they thought that they could have power and control over is leaving, no longer
Mhm.
there. This whole illusion of being this, the head of the household, the breadwinner, the family person, it's like all gone. And I love to see these women take back their power in that way.
Me too. I was so proud of both of them. I also am really glad we got to see it because I know that happened 6 months after filming was wrapped. So I'm glad that they had a little bit of extension of the episode for us to see these women actually following through and leaving these men.
And I really hope that that means that season 2 is happening like right now. Like, I hope that they're filming
Oh,
ASAP
me too.
because I can't get enough of it. And I'm really upset that we're not having a reunion.
I'm so upset we're not having a reunion. I want to see and hear what everyone's doing and thinking. I also want to hear a little bit more from Janet because I feel that she stirred the pot a lot, but we didn't actually get to know her very well.
Yeah. I think her stirring the pot, though, was her storyline. Like, that
Yeah.
was her claim for her character. And then also, wait, I'm seeing a trend here of weaponizing parenthood,
Yeah. Yep.
getting away with it. So I'm really curious to see how she does next season. If I hope that they have a next season, but if she comes back and she's no longer pregnant, like what else can you fall back on?
I did love when Jason stood up for her and he yelled at Zach.
Oh yeah. That was
I When a man stands up for his woman, I'm like so turned on. I was like, this is hot.
even though I think that the whole interaction was kind of bullshit,
Right.
and I don't even know that it was really to that caliber of escalation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is so hot.
Yeah. When he did that, I wonder if there's a correlation if we go back and see like the men who stand up for the women for their women versus the ones who don't, and what is
Mm,
the likelihood of divorce? Because like I've never seen Jack stand up for Brittany.
ooh, true. If anything, he puts her down.
Yeah, I've never seen Kyle stand up for Amanda. He puts her down. I've never seen. So it's like
Ooh.
the men who fight for their women, is there a higher probability in the Bravo sphere of them staying together? Because who are some other men that have fought like for their women and defended them? Joe
I
Gorga.
Yeah, I could think of people that haven't.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
for sure, Joe Gorga. I mean, I know Jason for sure got his dick sucked that
Oh yeah.
night.
Not on the couch. Not on the couch. But
No.
some in the bed where
Yeah.
he likes it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else has on camera stood up for their wives.
If you or the audience are thinking about it, email us or DM us because we want to know.
So what I really appreciate is that we were able to see many different sides of Danny, and at the during the last night at Big Bear, how he, got drunk. I think reality TV is going to show all angles of you, so I'm kind of glad that we didn't see only this polished porcelain version of him, but I also love that we did see repair in that and how he discussed why he did that without trying to necessarily justify it, and that she was able to come from a point of, I understand and I'm still not okay with that. So seeing not 100%, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, but still have resolve. I love to see that whenever they were in Big Bear the last night. And then also just towards the end, just seeing this kind of more fun side of him, letting loose, having a good time. I really did love to see that and to see their relationship more. So I hope that we get to see more of that next season.
If you and Sam were at the themed party that they had, what was it? Like, what's your hottest desire or fantasy? Who would each of you dress up as? Or what would each of you dress up as?
I feel like that's a good question. I don't know if I would dress up as any. Okay, Sam has told me that way back in the day, his like celebrity crush was Jessica Alba.
I was going to say Jessica Alba.
She's
Okay.
so hot though.
She's so hot.
But he does have a thing for like brunettes, so maybe that means something.
You could do her.
Um
And there was that movie that she was in where she was like escaping a shark and something like that. I know that that was the movie that all the boys liked her in when I was in high school because I think she's naked. I'm pretty sure you see her boobs. It was like a big deal.
like a soft core
Yeah, it was a
situation
softcore
in
situation.
theaters.
Yes. In theaters that like teenage boys were allowed to go to. So some type of softcore situation.
I love that. And then for me, I don't know. I can't really think. Like there's no celebrity I think that I'd be like, "Oh, like actually I take that back." Mm, I don't know.
I think that if I was partnered, my partner would dress up as either French fries because I have a deep obsession with French fries and I love them so much, or as Seth Rogen because I have the
Yes.
biggest crush on Seth Rogen. He's one of those Hollywood people that I have no idea why, but I just love him and I think he's so sexy.
You know what's so funny, that I'm so glad that you said that though, because he is kind of just like this goofy. It is
Yeah,
the personality too that goes with it.
totally.
Um, but I was actually, so we're getting ready to move. And so I'm going
Yeah.
through things and cleaning things out. And I found my manifesting list of like
Oh my God.
things that I would want in a partner. So this was back in 2017. I was traveling a lot. And I, experienced a lot of different people and could decipher what I did like and what I don't like in a partner. And I love that I wrote down like Seth Rogen esque. Like that's the
Sam
vibe.
is kind of Seth
It's
Rogen-esque.
kind of weird, especially when I first met him and he didn't have long hair. Um,
Oh man. He is kind of like goofy like Seth Rogen and like
I
sweet
know.
and
I know.
is really supportive and
Like
kind, which I don't know if Seth Rogen is, but I assume he is.
he just gives that vibe.
Yeah. But so did West, and look where we are.
Okay. Hot take.
Yeah.
I've always known that he's a fuck boy, right? Like but this whole like this whole people are shocked. Like I get it. He played us all, but I could look at him. I mean, I liked him and I liked what he brought to the group. I liked his energy, but I could look at him and be like, yeah, he's a fuck boy.
I think from how seriously he was pursuing Ciara, I was like, maybe he used to be a fuckboy, but maybe she's the one that kind of like changes him, which I hate that I just said that out loud. I think that there are some actually I was talking about this with my sister the other day. I think there are some men that meet a woman and they do decide to change, but I do think that a lot of men, their issues are way too deep for a woman and love to change them. It's like you need intensive, probably inpatient therapy.
I
Like my
mean, yeah.
ex, I was talking to my sister about it this week, and I had this realization of like, I think I've had a big fear of, oh, he's just gonna get better for someone else. He's just gonna get better. And my sister was like, he's not gonna get better because the reason he was so bad to you at the end was because of how ashamed he was, and then the shame kept building and building and building. And that's not something love heals. That's something therapy heals. Like he's just gonna keep building it more and more shame. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you're so right. Like so.
Maybe he could benefit from a medicinal retreat.
Yeah, maybe he could change his personality.
Yeah. Shame
the
is such a huge thing though that you see that
Oh,
impacts so many facets of your life and I think it shows up so much in sex, intimacy, and relationships.
where do you see it
And
showing up in sex or like in intimacy when you think about shame, either with clients or Bravo?
I think largely when clients come to me and we are able to look beyond the surface and discover how much shame impacts their intimacy, it shows up in sometimes just on the physical, like having all lights off or needing to be 100% under the covers at all time.
Mm-hmm.
It can also mean not being confident to come forward with your desires. And why is that? And a lot of the time, it's how you grew up and what your understanding of intimacy and sex was
Mm-hmm.
as a younger person. And so that's something that you would think has such an easy, quick fix, but it is so deeply rooted and it can take a while to overcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. I'd say shame is like the ultimate killer of relationships in so many ways. Even let's just think about like the repair. If Danny was really ashamed when he was with Nia and he was, what would that lead to? It would lead to him justifying his actions or saying like, I didn't do that, you're messed up. Like shame a lot of times also leads to gaslighting. It leads to
Mm,
manipulation because you don't want to admit where you messed up or you don't want to see yourself as not the good guy, which is another thing I see with so many of these Bravo men. The ones that are not the villains are all convinced they're the good guy. They're like, I'm the good guy. I'm the
yeah.
good guy. I'm the good guy, and then they can't handle it when someone's like, you did that wrong. And they're like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Because I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy. I have self-identified as a good guy.
Yeah. Or the number one guy in the group.
The number one guy in the group. Have you seen the movie Promising Young Woman?
No.
Okay. There's like this character in the movie, Bo Burnham plays him, which you have to see this movie, Meredith. And he is so good throughout the whole movie. And the main character, Cassie, is, you've watched her like struggle, and she's finally finding love. And there's all of these really bad men in the movie that are just like, you see them and they're like, there's a very clear line that the director is painting between like Bo Burnham is a really good guy, and then there's all these bad men. And at the very end, you find out Bo Burnham is like just like all of the other men, and there's a lot of really messed up things he's done, and he has no and he's so ashamed of it that he demands that she forgive him. He doesn't apologize. His shame causes him to demand that she forgives him. But I think it's really interesting that that character was created for that movie, because I think it's the only way that men would have bought in, because men watching that, they see themselves in him the entire time. They're not going to see themselves in these other characters that are like obviously bad, but they see themselves in Bo Burnham all the way to the very end. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, the good guy can also do bad things.
So are you saying that this is like a West situation?
I think so. I do. I think that like a lot of people were probably watching West and being like, oh, he's such a good guy. He's such a good guy. I even thought that, which this is my own mental note of never publicly say that you like a man, because then you're going to have to say, oops, my bad. I made a mistake. I've never publicly said I've liked a man and not had to go back and apologize and say I made a mistake.
9 times out of 10, you will be disappointed.
Yes. So I think that it is kind of a West situation where people are looking at him like, oh, he's a good guy, he's a good guy, he's a good guy. And then he did this thing, and you're like, oh, you're just like all the other ones. Like, and his excuses too were so bad. They were so bad. Like,
His
he didn't take
excuses are also rooted in,
shame
there you go.
because he didn't take any accountability. I didn't think so. Did you? Do you think
No,
he took
I mean,
accountability?
granted, we've just seen part one.
Right.
But what really got me it really pissed me off, truthfully, is that he, according to Ciara, she had given him the option. Hey, I get it. If this was just a summer thing and you want to end things, I'm giving you the out. If that was his MO, just to, if he was being truthful, he would have taken that out. But he
Mhm.
wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted that comfort. He wanted that, reassurance. He wanted that security of a relationship without giving the commitment and the effort and the hard work into having a relationship.
He wanted to drain her dry without pouring anything in. He's like, I'm going to drain you emotionally, physically, and I'm not going to give you anything in return, or I'm going to give you breadcrumbs.
And we see that a lot. I mean, throughout his whole reality TV career with Jax. Like, what does he give
Yeah.
in relationships other than, I mean, even this season, it's not even like the sex that they can say that the sex is that good because they haven't been hooking up. So,
And he's not even hot anymore.
yeah, with all the plastic surgery, but that's a whole nother
Love
thing.
it.
But yeah, just kind of like breadcrumbing and leading people on, even your own wife, and thinking, I'm going to drain you of your emotional energy, your mental energy, your physical energy, taking time to build out the bar and then leave you high and dry. Or, not, I mean, he wasn't the one to leave her, but still, I mean, that's what got her to that point of saying, I can't do this anymore.
This is my hot take. I think a lot of men are cowards. And I think a lot of men, when they want the relationship to end, what they will do is drain their partner to the very bone until the partner is like, okay, I'm leaving, because they don't have the courage to do it themselves. They're like, I'm going to make you hate me so you break up with me because I'm a coward and I can't break up with you.
Yeah. Let's talk about a different situation that
Yeah.
didn't necessarily happen to, was with Lindsey and Carl.
Ooh, I just think they're both bad people. I was watching the reunion. I was like, you're both bad people.
Yeah.
Like, and you are both like petty. And did you see her ad for Cheez-Its that she did?
Yes. Yes.
I was like, first of all, your PR agent needs to change and be Ariana's PR agent, who, by the way, is my close friend from high school and I love. And because Ariana, all of her ads after were like silly but tasteful. They weren't petty. They were like silly. It
Yeah.
was like trash bags and batteries, right? Lindsey went directly for like, I'm going to be petty. Even in the caption, she was like, and my teeth aren't fake. Like,
Okay, but
she,
those teeth are bad.
they are bad.
They're not good.
Carl looks haggard on the reunion. Like, he looks like he's aged 10 years in the last year.
Which, like, to be fair, if you go through a life altering event on national television and then have to live in the months where it's not publicly available information yet and then have to revisit it, I think I would look rode hard and put up wet.
Well, that's why I had a really bad breakup last year, and I lost too much weight too fast. I was really depressed, and I got um my face looked really old, like I aged really really badly. And last week I got a bunch of filler and I'm feeling back to my normal self. I got my cheekbones, they're strong enough to cut a dick, and like my smile lines, my marionette lines are gone. And I love that I can now look in the mirror and be like, no one can tell that a man ruined me last summer. No one can tell that I was so distraught I couldn't get out of bed. I'm back.
You
So
are back.
thank you. But
And
it felt really good.
as someone who has been also a friend of yours, like you are back. She's back, bitch.
Thank you.
And I mean, I personally would never have said that you looked bad, but you look back to yourself.
I looked like I was hanging on by a thread, and I was, to be fair.
And that's what trauma does to you. I mean, we can talk about it at another episode, but
Yeah.
that was not like a healthy cut, you know? That was
No.
not good.
No, and that is what, like, trauma affects your nervous system. It affects the way you look. It affects your body. It affects all of these things that we present. So I'm not surprised that Carl looked bad. I was like, Lindsey definitely probably had some hard days after that and looks for a man. She got filled up. Carl, go get filled up. You've got the money. Go do it.
Yeah.
Like, go get some, so you don't look so sad.
Skeletal. Yeah.
Skeletal. His face looked skeletal. That's it. Yeah.
And so while I was watching the finale episode and then leading up to the
Mm-hmm.
reunion, I just kept thinking that so there's miscommunication in a relationship, and that's whenever, broadly you can both eventually end at the same final destination. It just may take
Mm-hmm.
some effort to get there. And
Totally.
usually with miscommunication, that's what that'll look like. You just have to try to understand each other and look at it from different angles. They are speaking, this is not a miscommunication. They are both speaking such different languages. Their understanding of their relationship is on two different fields, and they both want each other to fill the mold of what they want them to be in the relationship. And whenever you have two forces trying to do that at the same time, you're just going to end up in disaster. So, yeah, at the reunion, when he's like, is everybody happy that this is how it ended? Everyone's like, yeah, including the two of them, because
Right.
it's so draining when you are just constantly trying to mold someone else into a form that you need them to be.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it with
Absolutely.
Michelle too. That
Yeah.
shit is gets old. That it feels like it drains you from every single direction.
It's old. It gets old, but you also become like, let's say for from a woman doing it to a man, stereotypically, in this case, you also become their mother. Like, and that leads to lack of sexual attraction. People don't want to fuck their mom. So if you're like berating them and telling them all the time, like, that you're disappointed in them or that you want them to change or you want them to be better, like, you're gonna start to have a mother son dynamic, which is completely unhealthy.
Mhm.
And I think with Lindsey, um, in that last episode where they're both saying things to each other and they're both completely misinterpreting what the other person is saying, it was really interesting to see that. It reminded me of two things. Number one, find a partner who is dedicated to understanding you, not being right. And
That
number
part.
two, you cannot date someone who doesn't understand you, because it will lead to this. Like, you have to find a partner that understands you. And if they don't
Or
understand you wholly, they seek to understand you.
that's what I was about to say. Somebody who can at least attempt to understand, because let's be real, nobody's going to be perfect. No relationship is perfect. No humans are perfect. Even like me, I know all the things and I still fuck up and make mistakes sometimes, but it
Yeah.
is the effort and the desire to want to understand somebody else and want to understand where they're coming from. And sometimes you do have disagreements where it's just like, let's just walk away and revisit this another time. I love that. That's great. But a lot of the time, it could just be help me understand where you're coming from. Help me understand where you're trying to land this plane right now because I'm confused. I
Yeah,
can't keep
or
up.
absolutely. Those are great things to say. I also like this is what I heard you say. Is this what you meant? I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. A lot of times what we hear is through the lens of our own trauma and shame, especially when our emotions are heightened. And I know I'm guilty of this in relationships too. Of I'll think someone said something that they didn't say because my wounding is coming up and it's super activated, and I'm seeing and hearing what they said through the lens of my fear of abandonment.
Hmm. I think a lot of the time, what a therapist does in couples therapy is be that communication liaison that says, hey, this is what I'm hearing from you. This is what I'm hearing from you. And this is actually, you actually are trying to get to the same place. You're just saying it in different ways. And
Totally.
I can even share from my own experience when I've gone to couples counseling, it's been super helpful because I didn't know what healthy communication looked like. And it's so ironic because I've studied it and I've just completely dived in headfirst into this realm, but it takes a while. It's so humbling too to have somebody say, "This is what you mean," and you just said it in a really mean, nasty way. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Right. You're right. It's like removing of ego, like good communication. Dolly's snoring next to me. It's the good communication that is really a remover of our ego, because we have to set our ego to the side and say, like, it's more important for me to negotiate, for me to understand, for me to be present with my partner than for me to fight with them. I
Or
had
to
a
be right.
or to be right. I had a therapist once that told me this, and it has always stuck with me. She was like, when you always want to be right, what's the other person? I was like, wrong. And she's like, yeah. So you're winning and they're what? I was like, losing. And she's like, yeah. And do you really want to marry a loser? And I was like,
Ooh.
ooh, okay, you're right. She's like, how much attraction do you think is gone when you think that you're the one that's always right and they're the one that's wrong? And they're the loser and you're the winner. You don't want to be with someone who you make out to be or perceive to be a loser.
Man, that really hits where it
I
hurts.
know.
I
When
love
she said
that.
that to me, I was like, mm,
Like,
okay,
oh,
thanks for the
fuck.
mirror. Can you take it back now?
Yeah. I'm gonna need to chew on that one.
Yeah. I I think the thing though with Lindsey and Carl is that they 100% should have broken up. But I wanted to talk with you about this. I know we texted about it this week of she was really upset. Part of her complaint in this experience together was that he wanted to go to couples therapy after they broke up. And I want to get your perspective on that, because when she said that, I thought that's actually really not strange at all.
Yeah, so we also were chatting about this earlier, and I have been thinking about it. And I think for some people, it's helpful and it can really bridge coming from a place of wounded and feeling this kind of really heavy hatred for somebody and coming to a point of understanding where this is why we decided to separate, and being able to have at least be neutral or civil with each other. I think whenever that's the end goal, absolutely, I feel like it can be helpful. But there are instances where someone's physical safety may be at risk, or
Totally.
where the trauma is so deep and the person on the that was doing the hurting is so deeply into their own ego that there will never be resolved. And I see that with Tom and Ariana. Like, I don't think that therapy would have done them any good post breakup. because of how deep into his ego he is and how he still could never acknowledge his wrongdoing, even way after the fact. I do think that, though, in some circumstances where it was, I mean, Lindsey obviously wanted to get married still, but I think deep down she knew that this relationship wasn't
Yeah.
going to be fruitful and that they should have ended things long ago. In a circumstance like that, like I could see where it would be beneficial to go to therapy and
I
work that out.
actually, yeah, I totally agree with Tom and Ariana. I also think the same for Jackson Brittany, because it's never recommended to go to therapy with someone who has narcissistic traits. Like that's not no therapist is ever going to recommend couples therapy when a partner has narcissistic tendencies or traits. Tom Sandoval definitely does. So does Jax. Um, I don't know that I see that with Carl, and these are my opinions, not my diagnoses. But the the big thing that I I noticed in their dynamic and over again is that Carl was scared of Lindsey because of how reactive she was. And in that case, it did to me make sense that he wanted therapy, because I think he's like, I need to talk to her and have some like calm ground so we can figure out our logistics. We are on a show together. We run ads together. We have this huge expensive apartment together. We also have to figure out how we're calling off the wedding, like who's calling people,
Yeah.
who's canceling things. There are a lot of logistics to figure out that I think Lindsey, without another person there to mediate, would have been too activated to do. So in that case, I actually thought it makes a lot of sense that he wants to go to couples therapy
Yeah.
to hammer out these logistics and get through it. It's normal. Also, I know I've worked with couples and I have colleagues that have worked with couples that come to therapy to uncouple and to do it well. Like that's their goal. They come and they're like,
Mhm.
we need to break up. We have children, or we have a home, or we have an engagement, etc. How do we do this and do it well?
I'm really glad that you said that because there are many utilizations for therapy, especially couples therapy. And something that I find really interesting is if you are on the fence of ending things and you think that therapy is going to save your relationship, it is 99% of the time far too late. And I think in that circumstance, it's just going to build further resentment from one party towards the other.
If you're going to therapy to check off couples therapy to check off a box so that you can tell everyone you tried everything and you went to therapy, it's too late. If you're doing this just to check the box, your relationship's already done.
Yeah.
The only way therapy in couples relationships work if both people go into it knowing that they're going to be a little bit wrong, that
Yeah.
they're that if you go into therapy to change your partner, if you go into therapy so that your partner can see all the ways in which they're messed up and wrong, therapy's not going to work, because both people have to see the roles they're playing. Are there relationships where one partner is playing a significantly more damaging role than the other partner? Absolutely. But we're all playing roles that egg each other on and that fuel the fire, especially when there's a lot of conflict.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Love to hear it. That's our PSA for the
Yes,
week.
it is.
Go to therapy as a relationship enhancement tool and as a prevention method rather than when it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. It's those are actually really the only couples I work with, are couples who are looking for relationship enhancement, because I've worked with too many couples, especially at the start of my career, where they were coming to check that box off that they went to therapy, or they were coming because they wanted me to get their partner to see that they were right.
Feel, yeah.
And they were like, or they were coming because their partner dragged them there and they didn't want to be there and they didn't want to put in any work. And
That's miserable because you're just wasting your time.
yeah, and I'm really glad that I have been able to find clients who want to enhance their relationship, and that's the couple clients that I work with. There are awesome therapists for people that are in SOS mode, absolutely. And there are therapists in the practice I work in that are great at that. That's not my specialty, and I love doing the fun things with couples and helping them enhance their relationships and having better communication and better sex and having fun. Like couples therapy does not have to be knock down drag out fights or where you
No.
leave feeling like shit. you can actually go and have a lot of fun because you're learning a lot about your partner, and you're learning about it through a lens of someone who's unbiased and just meeting you. And it's a really cool experience. If you go into couples therapy of like, I'm going to learn so much about my partner and myself, that's a great attitude to have.
I would say too that I have had folks leave one on ones with me more excited to go home and do their homework or, whatever we
Yeah.
discussed that they could try out and flex that kind of new muscle that we built in our session. So those are like, I think, the most successful
Hmm.
sessions and ends up being a fruitful relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Moral of the story, go sooner than later. If you're a little unhappy with your sex life, go find someone to work with now. Don't wait till it blows up. Don't wait till you both say things towards each other that are harmful. Just
Yeah.
go see someone now.
And if
And
you find yourself bored or wanting
yeah,
new skills or tools in your toolkit.
yeah, absolutely. Go see, and just in a way to approach it with your partner, I think a great way is I've been thinking a lot about how I would like our sex life to look like this. And I don't know how to do that without support. How do you feel about getting support? Framing it in a positive way of what you want, not the negative way of what you don't have. So
Yeah.
always like, this is the thing. I really want our sex life to be more spontaneous. Or I'd really want our sex life to be, I sometimes feel like I'm not super present and I get easily distracted. And I'd really like to be more present in pleasure. How do you feel about us getting some support on this so that we can have an even better sex life?
I love that. That's our PSA for the week.
It is. What's your hot take for the week?
Um, what did I say earlier today that I said was, oh, that Wes has always been a fuck boy in
You
the
did
Bravo
say that.
verse. I'm doubling down on that. People that are shocked, that's on you. You got.
Ugh.
He can be a good guy and a fuck boy at the same time, but like you could tell he had fuck boy tendencies from the jump.
I actually don't think he in his case can be a good guy and a fuckboy because he was dishonest. And I think
Yeah,
that I think Jesse Solomon is someone who's honest with the women he's dating. Of like, I'm dating other women. I have other dates this week. This is exactly where I'm at, and I'm not going to lead you on, and I'm not going to. From what we've seen, right? And I think that that's a fuckboy who is a fuckboy, but he's super honest, and he's not giving anyone false information or false hope or
yeah.
playing into relationships. So my hot take plays off of yours, which is that I think Jesse Solomon is less of a fuckboy than West. I think West is the bigger fuckboy.
Oh, so we're gradient. He's like, okay,
Yeah,
I could see
we're
that.
greedy in it.
That's where he is, fuck boy and good guy.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely.
So we may or may not keep this, I don't know, but I've been giggling at this and I can't wait to tell
Oh
you.
no.
So if there are people that are listening still, we Rachel just moved to Hawaii, and whenever she was leaving Denver, had discovered some extra stuff that a sex coach would acquire through workshops and things like that. And so Rachel gave me a nice box of a bunch of tools like cock rings and lube and
So much.
yeah, it was a lot. And I was great because I could, provide them to friends, clients, whoever, it's great to have a nice box like of things. So I had forgotten that I had told some people like, hey, if you need this, I have this whole huge box and I'm, more than happy to give them away to a group of friends. And we a few weekends ago went out of town and we're getting our house ready for folks to come and stay here and watch our
Yeah.
dog. And it's some of our really good friends and he's so funny. I set up a whole thing like, here are the amenities that I have left you with. Here's the face mask and this
You're
is where you
so
can
cute.
find this and whatever. And he's like, literally no acknowledgement of that, just right off the bat, Mare, where the cock rings at?
I love that. I love that so much. Do you think okay, because one time I got shamed for this when I was with my ex. We were staying at a friend's house. We were having sex. They were like, "Hey guys, can you hurry up? We've got to go." They didn't know we were having sex. And then we came down and we were like a little tussled. And they were like, were you guys just having sex? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, that's really rude to do in someone else's house when you're visiting and staying with them. And we both got like shamed that it was rude and disrespectful. And I've never been under that impression. And it seems like you aren't either. Did it bother you that he said that?
No, I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, if people are coming to my, obviously, like, don't be disrespectful and leave my house a mess, or don't
No, and
be
that was
like
never a part of it.
loud and obnoxious where I'm hearing you. But also, I hope that whenever people come to my home, they feel comfortable in every single way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree too. I think that's such a weird flex for people to think like, what? It's like a superior, like, oh, I'm better than that.
Oh yeah, I got super shamed. We both did. They were like, I can't believe you did that. That's so disrespectful. And I was like, I'm so confused.
That,
These
yeah.
people also have a 6-bedroom house and it's just the two of them. And it, there's
You're
like,
like, what are you going to do with all this space?
I'm like, there's all these bedrooms no one uses. What are you going to do with them? So, and that was a sidebar, but I love that you are spreading the love. When I
Yeah.
moved to Hawaii, I had to get rid of basically everything to move here, and I had lived in Denver for 11 years, so there's a lot of stuff. And the box that Meredith is talking about, I got it from, I did an event last year, a couples intimacy workshop. Trojan sponsored it, and they sent me a huge box of lube and cock rings. And when I say a huge box, I'm talking a UPS size box, like a moving box, stacked to the top every which way
And they're
filled.
not that big. Like
They're
the
not that big.
boxes are pretty small. Yeah.
Maybe I think there's also some condoms in there at one point, but it was a huge box. And Meredith got this box a year later, and this is after I have dumped. This is after everyone from the workshop took some, and I encouraged them to take more than what was in their goodie bag. And then also it's like 6 months, 8 months later of me giving them to friends and giving them to clients, and the box was still like halfway full when I gave it to you. There was still so many cock rings and so much lube.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, more like take it, use it, live your best life. Even if they didn't like follow through and use it, I just thought that was so funny. And I immediately was like, I have to tell Rachel.
I love that. I love that you're creating atmospheres for people to have fun, enjoyable,
Yes. Pleasure in all
maybe
ways.
adventurous
Face
than
masks,
sex. Yeah.
luxury, like whatever you need to do. If anybody's gonna be at my house, you're gonna have a good fucking time.
Hell yeah. I love that. I mean, I I had to get rid of a lot of toys when I moved here because I had 2 huge boxes filled with sex toys, and a lot of them had been acquired through companies sending me stuff to promote it or just to give a review, and so I had a ton of sex toys, and I gave them away to people as I was leaving, and I gave them a lot of them away to like my lovers. So I like have a couple men that we would see each other when we saw each other for sexy fun times for like the last 4 years, and then there was a break when I was dating someone, and then when we broke up we started seeing each other again. And so each of these men, when they came to my house, I was like, I have a box of toys for you, here you go, enjoy them. And one of the men texted me the other day, and he was like, I hope that this turns you on and doesn't turn you off, but I used the spreader bar last night with someone and it was so hot. And I was like, it turns me on to know that I'm always in your bedroom.
Yeah, and you're still thinking about me.
Yeah.
I love that.
So moral of that story is get a friend that's a sex coach because you'll probably get sex toys.
Yes. And speaking of spreader bar, please spread the love and subscribe, like, share, comment, download, all the things. We've gotten really great feedback so far, and we will continue giving you what you want as long as you let us know what it is that you want. So please let us know what you're feeling, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.